Okay, people. So, yo, just back from the cinema. I went to see A Complete Unknown. Right? I've been meaning to see this for a time. But, you know, but I've done it. Just done it. It's directed by James Mangold, who co wrote with Jay Cox. It is produced by. Boom, boom, boom. Jeff Rosen, Peter Jason, Alex Heineman, Alan Gassmer, Bob Bookman, Fred Berger, James Mangold, and Timothée Chalamet. It is executive produced by Michael Bederman, Brian Kavanagh Jones, Andrew Arona, co-produced by Matthew Wells and Anthony Dixon, associate produced by Blake Simon. Theodon Papamichael handled cinematography. Scott Morris and Andrew Buckland edit the piece. All right, casting. We have Yessi Ramirez. Francisco Odoy is production design. Art direction is Christopher J. Morris. Regina Graves is set decoration. Costume design, we have Ariana Phillips. And our cast. The incredible, crazy cast. Right? Well, Timothée Chalamet is Bob Dylan. Ed Norton, the great Ed Norton, is Pete Seeger. His wife, Toshi, is played by Eriko Hatsune. We have who else do we have? Scott McNairy is Woody Guthrie. Seeger's children, right? There's Riley. There's Danny, played by Riley Hashimoto. There's Tanya, played by Eloise Peyrou. There's Micah, played by Maya Feldman. We also have Sylvie Russo, played by Ellie Fanning. There's Joan Baez, played by Monica Barbaro. Who else do we have? We've got Joe Tippett, played by Dave Van Ronk. Albert Grossman, played by Dan Fogler. We've got Tito, played by Reza Salazar. John Hammond is played by David Allen Bayesh. Yeah, I should have put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I realize it's going crazy. Yeah, that should stop all of that. There's Brownie McGee, right, played by Joshua Henry. Alan Lomax, played by Norbert Lee Butts. Gina Russo plays Alana Sergena. We have Johnny Cash, played by Boyd Holbrook. Andy Talon, plays Jimmy Dean. Tom Wilson, played by Eric Berriman. Harold Leffenel, played by PJ Bryan. Peter Yarrow, played by Nick Pupu. Becca, played by Laura Karuki. Tilda, played by Zoe Zien. Bobby Newworth, played by Will Harrison. Theodore Bickle, played by Michael Shermus. Roy Haley, played by Jordan Godsell. Mike Bloomfield, played by Eli Brown. Al Copa, played by Charlie Tyan. I think that's a lot of our main people. I mean, there's a load of people. There's a load of people up in this, right? The gist is set in the influential New York City music scene of the early 60s. A complete unknown follows 19-year-old Minnesota musician Bob Dylan's meteoric rise as a folk singer to concert halls and the top of the charts, as his songs and his mystique become worldwide sensation that culminates in his groundbreaking electric rock and roll performance at the Newport Folk Festival in 1965. You know, so this is based upon the book, right? Dylan Goes Solo by Elijah Wald. Now, I think I recall, right, hearing something back in the day about, you know, people being upset. But people always get fucking upset. You know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't realize that's what this film was about. You know, all I knew was there's a Bob Dylan biopic coming. And yeah, I mean, Dylan's an interesting motherfucker, right? Can be a bit weird, but he's interesting. So I definitely wanted to check it out. And James Mangold is a good director. I mean, we won't talk about the Indiana Jones because that stunk, but James makes good films. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think with this, he's definitely redeemed himself from indie. You know what I mean? But, well, I guess it depends what you like. You know what I mean? Some people might prefer indie to this. I don't know. Right, but we start off and we've got Dylan, right, hitchhiking into the city. Right, now, I wasn't quite sure what city. I assumed it was New York just from, you know, what I could see. And it was. Right, so it's the early days, right? He goes to the hospital and plays a song, right, for Guthrie, you know, because he really looked up to Guthrie and Seegers. You know, Guthrie's, I didn't know, but he was, you know, in hospital with Huntington's disease, you know, so yeah, because he brings his guitar and you know, through Pete, right, because he was helping because Guthrie couldn't really talk, so yeah, he gets Bob to play a song. So we see all of this, and then Bob goes and stays with Pete and his family, and we just see this integration into the music scene, right? And I think it was done really well, right? It's a film, right? It's another film where I'm kind of conflicted because there's these really great moments in this film, right? The way we are brought into it with the camera really works. You know, that when he's on stage playing those acoustic songs, there's an intimacy there. You know, that was very good. And also when Joan is playing, right? When everyone is playing, you feel like you're connected. And then like the moments when, you know, Joan and Bob are doing duets, right? Just the way they you know what I mean, we're brought into that, right? And their faces are close to the microphone. That was done very well. That was done very well. Also, with the supporting cast, boy, I mean, the supporting cast was tremendous, right? And just Norton, right? Norton and Eriko, their performances of Pete and Toshi, you really buy the relationship, right? You really buy the relationship. I thought Ellie Fanning as Sylvie Russo, who isn't an actual person from that time, but she was created to play Bob's girlfriend from that time, right? Who they didn't, Bob asked not for her to be left out of the film, which I get, I can see why, because Bob is a cunt. You know what I mean? Like, he isn't necessarily the nicest person. And he is a shit to Sylvie. So I can understand why he might want to keep his actual girlfriend's name out of the film. Right? But Fanning does a fantastic job. You know, and I think even when people are angry at Bob, we see them on the side of the stage or the you know, the hall or wherever, and just hearing him play, you're transfixed, right? And we see that in their expression. And I think that's a difficult fucking thing to do, right? To really show captivation. And all of that is so believable. It's so believable, right? There's a bit towards the end, and you can see, man, like it's all going down. But it's just the expressions on Toshi and Pete, right? Or Bob, you know, Johnny. It really is something. It's really something. I mean, Johnny Cash was an interesting one, right? Because I think you kind of see Johnny as Joaquin Phoenix after Walk the Line, because that was such a powerful performance. But it's like, you know, having Boyd Holbrook play him, and Boyd does a great job. I mean, Boyd does get the sound right? Like, but it's just like, yeah, it doesn't look like Joaquin, but it's still good. You know, so we have these incredible performances. Joan Baez, you know, Monica Barbaro does a great job. Dan Fogler as Albert Grossman. And all of these performances are really, really good. But you don't feel like you get into Bob Dylan's head. You know, because it's just like with the things he does in this film, the way he treats people, there's not really anything to enlighten why. Right now, you can make assumptions, right? There's certain things that might have been said, and you'd be like, okay, I guess, right, what he's doing is, you know what I mean? But there's nothing where he might be like, you know what? Even though this person has done all of this and helped me, I don't give a fuck about them, right? I don't care about like anything. There's nothing. There's nothing really. So I don't know. You kind of feel like you are a voyeur a lot of the time with this. And sometimes you're at a window close by, and sometimes you're across the park looking through binoculars, right? It's an odd sensation that you get watching the film. But then when the music plays, you are brought in. I mean, Chalamet has a great performance. But there are times when, I don't know, for me, it did feel like it's a caricature. You know what I mean? And that's not, you know, it's not saying Chalamet's not a great actor and, you know, it was terrible all the way through. And, you know, even with the caricature comment, it's not saying he's terrible. But there are times when you feel Dylan is there, and then there are times when you feel it's Chalamet playing Dylan. You know what I mean? We do get these time jumps. Not huge time jumps, but there are some. So it's hard to be like, wait, are we saying that happened directly after that? Right? There's some odd ones where it's not quite clear. Okay, is it the next day, the next week? Are we a month's difference? What are we doing here? You know, it's not overly detrimental on the film, but it is just a little bit odd. I mean, my biggest frustration with the film was the end, really, to be honest with you, because there is like a minute's worth of text, right? I feel there was like 4 or 5 screens of text that come up. And obviously, I can't see what the fuck is being said. And I just always feel, have someone narrate it. Just have someone narrate the last bits. You know, you pick a character that will resonate, right? And you get them to do the narration of the text at the end. Because it's fucking frustrating. Or if you're not going to do that, put it on the website, right? Put it on the film website and be like, look, for those that might not have been able to see the text, this is what it says at the end of the fucking film. Just do that for me, please. Someone. Like a little consideration. You know what I mean? But yeah, look, I can see a lot of people getting nominations for their performances here. Right? I can see awards for costume design, for set decoration, you know what I mean? Just all of these things, for score and all of that. I can see that. I don't know if it's best film. I'm very much like, I have no fucking clue. I have no clue. Right? As I said, it's a good film. But it is a film where you leave feeling a little bit like, but what else? Right? A little bit like, I thought I was going to see more. You know? Like, it's funny because there is a point in the film where Sylvie and Bob are having an argument because she's like, you are not letting me see who you are. Right? I feel like I'm living with a stranger. And as a viewer, you do kind of get that, right? Because by the end of the film, you still don't fully know who Bob is. You know? But, yeah, like with Anora, the components are good. You know what I mean? So, Yeah, you may have already seen this, but I realize I am late to the party, people. I am late to the party. But yeah, a complete unknown. Man, like, musically, great. Great. You know what I mean? I love a little blues. I love a little folk. I just love music, man. So it was good being able to hear some of these songs and the performances and everything. But do we know who Bob Dylan is? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you think. What was your experience with the film? You know, did you enjoy it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you indifferent? Let me know. A complete unknown.